Hello everyone, this is another tutorial video on fencing soft skills, and I'd like to move the subject of this video to a slightly different type of thing than in the previous videos. Because for the last few months we've been covering such skills as can be generally quite well learned through grappling. And structure, precision and agility are definitely things that you should always try to tap into if at all possible. And if you can do that and make them a habit, it will make it far more likely that you'll succeed at whatever it is that you're trying to do in fencing. Right now, however, I'd like to move towards the mind game. And its influence on your fencing cannot be underestimated either. The thing is though, it's a very difficult aspect of most martial arts, and HEMA is no exception to this. Often the best fighters really benefit from being able to get into the right headspace for a training or a sparring fight or a tournament match. But since those things happen inside their heads, they also struggle quite often to be able to put those into actionable words that other people can apply as well. Personally, I've always quite struggled with the mental game of fencing. Sometimes it just really clicks. I hit the state of flow and I feel as if almost nothing can stop me. And at other times, well, it just really does not go well. So I've had moments where I show up to a tournament and I really hit my stride, I do well, I'm in the flow, and suddenly I'm in the eliminations fighting several top 10 ranked longsword fencers in quick succession, and I get to defeat them. And there's other tournaments, also very recently, where I just did not make it past the pool phase. And this is all very much just things that happen in my head. If I manage to hit that state of flow, I do really well, and if not, I kind of struggle. And as such, I've been embarking on a little bit of a quest for the last year, half a year or so, to try and figure out what it is that makes this thing click and what happens or what I neglect to do when it does not. All that, of course, to try and make sure that I can actually consciously turn that tournament face on, or be able to get to that state of flow, be able to turn it on myself rather than have it happen to me. Now, I've learned a couple of very interesting things, and this coming video series is an attempt to share with you what I have learned so far. Be aware, this is not by any means the definitive guide, but I have learned quite a few useful things that I think will benefit you. This goes for competitive fencing, obviously, but perhaps even more so for just learning to fence well. Because almost all of good fencing happens in a state of flow, where you are neither too tense nor too relaxed. When you're patient without being timid, when you're being unpredictable without being dumb, assertive without being a bully. Quite simply, when everything you do makes you inevitable. This video will be something like a video zero that expresses the ideas and concepts, with every following one being structured around certain aspects of achieving the state of flow. And for everyone as well, I'll be providing some exercises that hone in on this particular aspect. For today, I would like to talk a little bit more about the Nürnberg Hausbuch, aka the MS 3227A or the Codex Döbringer. This manuscript is interesting, as it is one of the few that extensively talks about the virtues of a good fencer. Sure, Legöckner tells you to be patient enough to perform the right counter at the right time, but that's about it. The Zettel generally tells you to love God, honor ladies, and prove your valor at any opportunity possible. But those are not super actionable virtues, if you get what I mean. And I might go as far as to say that they rest on social norms that not everyone shares anymore. The Nürnberg Hausbuch, with the longsword text written by the artist formerly known as Hanko Döbringer, has more useful virtues. Now, don't get too excited, as the text only tells you what you should strive to be and not how to become that. It is not really actionable yet, but it is a start at least. As the virtues of a fencer come in a fairly standard ABAB rhyme scheme, I took the liberty of translating some of the concepts I find important in it for your enjoyment. All fencing depends on what the Lord intends, on a healthy body and mind, and a good sword well designed. Before, after, strong, weak, instantly perform technique. Be quick and brave of heart, prudent, sly and smart, surreptitious and steady, clever, prepared and ready. Practice and strive for improvement of flexibility, footwork and movement. It is a beautiful thing to stay in motion. Of all fencing, this is the central notion. So what does this mean? Just like structure, precision and agility, these are all things that you should strive to always tap into. The previous topics, however, were very physical skills, while what this poem hints at is more about reaching a state of flow. Flow is a somewhat modern term, but I haven't been able to find a description that's less esoterical. In pre-modern societies, this concept of flow in combat could be described almost in religious terms as becoming possessed by a deity of war, or your hand being guided by the saints or something of that sort. In our more secularized modern worldview, the state of flow is the best description that we have, in my opinion. To me, it's what happens when everything clicks into place. You read your opponent correctly, make the right decisions, and because you are riding the line between tension and relaxation, it seems to happen effortlessly. Almost as if you're not really there. When the author of the Nuremberg Hausbuch talks about being quick, brave, prudent, steady, and prepared, they're describing what I think of in a fencer that has entered that state of flow. The big question, of course, is how to get to it. Do we invoke Tyr or Saint Michael? Is the key to be found in meditation? I'm actually sure that those things might not be as silly as I now make them sound, but it's not really anything I can help you with. It's that fine line between tension and relaxation that comes from a combination of being eager to perform while feeling familiar in the setting you do it in that we can work with. Zbigniew Tchaikovsky explained this as the balance between motivation and arousal. Fencers and their coaches should strive for maximum motivation, wanting to win, while being aware of and be able to manage the fencer's level of arousal. The latter could, after all, lead to hyperfocus and frustration if this is allowed to become too high, which is obviously not good. It will lead to double hits or running into traps and losing bats. So, what we'll be doing in the coming months is talking about what I do to ensure that balance first, and then how this can lead to the virtues of a fencer that the Hausbuch poem describes. So since it's a bit more of a theoretical video than usual, it does not have any sort of drill attached to it at this point. However, I would like to put you up for a bit of a challenge or an assignment if you are open to it. So what I'd like you to do is, if you're going to be doing any sort of sparring in the next few weeks, try to see what your state of mind is while doing that. So, and ideally write it down afterwards as well. And also try and see if you can identify the factors that influence that state of mind. So fencing with familiar or unfamiliar partners, having the bout be judged or given points versus just free fencing, being very fatigued or being very energetic. Those things can definitely influence your state of mind. And it would be interesting to see what that does to you. Now, if we're going to be looking at these virtues of a fencer that are described in this poem, you're very much going to be looking inside yourself, being very introspective and giving yourself feedback based on your state of mind while fencing and seeing how that influences. And before doing that, it might be good to actually practice that introspection a little bit before we actually start applying lessons to it. So that might be a good basis to work from. So if you're open to it, that might be a fun assignment for the next month or so. Try and see what your state of mind is while fencing. Now, I'll see you all back for the next video, which is going to be on the Vierleger and the state of flow that can be gained by using them correctly. And until then, if you have any questions, I'll be right here. And if not, well, until the next video. Bye.